Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Something that has always been important to me since starting this channel is making the world of tabletop gaming as welcoming and accessible for newcomers as possible. So I am always keenly interested in starter sets designed to introduce someone into a particular game system. Today I am going to be talking about one such starter set, the rather impressive and incredibly comprehensive Tales of the Valiant starter set, which was sent to me for review by the good folk at Steamforged Games. Tales of the Valiant is one of the many modern RPG systems that uses a foundation of the 5th edition rules from Dungeons & Dragons, but offers a new world to explore with numerous tweaks to the core gameplay mechanisms. I am going to assume that if you are watching this, you already have some interest in Tales of the Valiant, and you just want to know if this box set serves its purpose of making the game system instantly accessible and engaging. Spoilers, it does. If you have watched my channel for any length of time, you will probably know Steamforged Games are one of my favourite companies for role-playing accessories, thanks to their epic encounters and local legends range. And for this Tales of the Valiant starter, which has been produced in conjunction with Kobold Press, they have really pushed the boat out, creating something which is not only an ideal entry point for new players, but a valuable resource for any dungeon master. If you want rules, advice on getting started, miniatures, maps, monster tokens or ready-made adventures, it's all here. First up, you get a full set of polyhedral dice, blue with white numbering. Pretty standard fare, but they are a good size and weight, and you get 2 d20s so you can easily roll for advantage or disadvantage. You also get 4 miniatures. These represent 4 pre-generated heroes that come in this set, but they are going to be just as useful for custom heroes, NPCs, or units in any miniatures agnostic tabletop game you might play. I am also quite sure all of the HeroQuest fans watching this video will instantly be able to think of good uses for all of these. My favourite is Cannet Cragwalker, a beastkin barbarian on a 25mm base. He's a decent size and he has some good detailing. His warhammer is on the more realistic scale, it's certainly not a Games Workshop sized weapon, but you don't need a really big hammer when you're a bear. Our second hero is Gada Zaid, a human fighter also on a 25mm base. Again, the detailing is pretty good and her axe is realistically proportioned. I'm not so keen on the positioning of the shield, it feels like it's way too high up on her arm, but otherwise this is a nice miniature. The third hero is Unthar Shaleheart, a dwarf wizard also on a 25mm base. There's some cool stuff on this one. I really like the flaming torch. OSL painters can have some fun with that. And there is a cute little fire salamander crawling up his wrist. Note, I believe the very small hammer on his waist is part of his smithing tool set. It is not intended for combat purposes, where Unthar is more inclined to throw around his firebolt spell. The fourth hero is probably the most unusual. It's Zalbikar Andrielix the Warlock Kobold, a diminutive figure on a 20mm base. This miniature has the softest detailing, which is a bit of a shame because it's a really cool concept, and I love the little dragon friend sitting on his shoulder. All 4 characters have pre-generated character sheets, and Unthar and Zalbikar have additional sheets covering spell options up to level 4. You can write directly on these sheets if you wish, but if you would rather preserve them, there are free downloads for all of these characters on the Steamforged Games website, available at the link in the video description below. Note there is also a character sheet for a rather nondescript character called Cabbage. You don't get a miniature for Cabbage, but we will learn more about him in a moment. Of course, your heroes will need some foes to battle, and this set includes 2 punch boards packed with dungeon denizens. There's a good mix of stuff here, but rather than being the most commonly occurring creatures heroes may encounter, the tokens are specifically for use with the included quests. As a result, you end up with a few unusual things, like the Rug of Smothering, Flinder Beasts and the Morda Vermis, plus some quest-specific NPCs. All of the tokens are nicely illustrated, and they are all correctly sized to match the bases of the relevant miniatures, ranging from small bases that are 20mm up to enemies like the Troll, which are 50mm. There is even a 75mm Awakened Tree. Of course, not everyone is going to enjoy using tokens, but this is a great way for a first-time dungeon master to field a good range of enemies and characters without having to invest in a lot of miniatures. Next, we get to one of the highlights for me, quest maps. There are 4 maps spread across 3 sheets, and they are excellent. They are well drawn, but clean and uncluttered, and presented with a high gloss finish so you can scribble notes on them with a dry erase pen if you need to. As with the monsters, rather than being generic maps of common locations you may find, they are all specific to the included missions in the starter set. However, they could easily be used and reused in whole or part for all kinds of quests. The first one, which measures approximately 33 inches by 23.5 inches, is some kind of underground tomb with a tunnel that leads into the city sewers. I could instantly think of a dozen potential encounters that I could use this map for. Incidentally, when I have maps like this, I like to introduce a fog of war so players can't see areas they haven't reached yet. To achieve that, I often use the awesome puzzle tiles from the Dungeons & Dragons board games. I simply arrange them over the map and pull up the tiles as new areas are explored. The reverse of this battle map has a colour image which is the cover art for the Monster Vault, Tales of the Valiant's version of a monster manual. It's nice, but I would have preferred another map, or even just a plain grid I could draw my own maps on. The second map is much smaller, measuring approximately 23.5 inches by 16.5 inches. It represents the basement beneath an unusual townhouse. I would be tempted to use this as an adventurous safe house or barracks, where heroes can hide away, rest, restock, and plan their next moves. The reverse is another piece of colour art, this time the cover of the starter set. Again, very nice, but I would rather see something useful in that space. The third map is my favourite. It's the same size as the first sewer map, and this one is double-sided. On one side there is an absolutely gorgeous hedge maze filled with traps and interesting details. And then on the reverse we have a massive tomb with lots of claustrophobic tunnels and larger areas for tense combats. Finally, we get to the meat of this offering. 4 separate books, each featuring artwork of one of our 4 brave heroes. The slimmest volume is Welcome to Role-Playing Games. This weighs in at 20 pages and tries to answer all of the questions anyone who has never played a role-playing game might ask. It covers what an RPG is and runs through an example of a brief RPG session presented as a script. It covers core game concepts such as embodying a character and what the different types of dice are, and then includes sections on being a good dungeon master or a good player. Throughout, there are QR codes leading to extended resources and online playthroughs. It really does make the whole thing seem very manageable and welcoming. The second book is 52 pages and covers most of the main rules, making tests, combat, spellcasting, and so on. This is enough to get started and to play through all of the included scenarios. But obviously you are missing all the stuff on character creation, and there is only a small selection of spells at the back. There are no monster stat blocks in here either. The rules for those monsters you will meet during the included quests are inside the relevant quest books. Speaking of which, the other 2 books cover the adventures, which I will talk about only briefly to minimise spoilers. Even so, if you aren't a dungeon master, you may want to skip to the next timestamp just to be safe. The introductory adventure booklet is 80 pages and includes 3 separate quests. The first one is very interesting as it's a solo quest. You take on the role of Cabbage, that mysterious 5th hero character we saw earlier. But you also take on the role of the Dungeon Master, which is a really interesting way to get a feel for both sides of the coin and to gain a better understanding of how everyone works together to create a collaborative storytelling experience. Once you have completed this adventure, you are ready to take on the mantle of the Dungeon Master for real, guiding a group of 4 heroes on a series of quests. The first group adventure is called Down the Rabbit Hole. A group of heroes falls into a sinkhole with a friendly wizard and they must find a way out. The story has been designed to throw the heroes straight into a dangerous situation, quite literally, so you can simply hand out pre-generated characters and get into the action, learning by doing. The focus is on exploring and developing the foundational knowledge that will be the bedrock of all future adventures. It's intended for level 1 heroes and can be used as the start of a new campaign or as a one-shot. The third adventure in the book is called The Troll Booth. It involves the heroes trying to find a place to live for a troll who was made homeless by the sinkhole in the previous quest. They find somewhere that could be ideal, a basement in an old woman's house, but not everything is as it seems. The quest is for level 2 heroes and focuses on social interactions and non-violent encounters. As with all of the other quests, it could be used as a one-shot. We then move on to the Advanced Adventures booklet, which is 72 pages long and contains 2 more quests which, as you would expect, are a bit more involved with more to do and track. The first adventure follows on directly from the Troll Booth and is designed for heroes of level 3. The wizard from the first quest, Rantipole, charges the heroes with finding an important artifact for him. The problem is, it's located in a magical hedge maze. This is a good old-fashioned fetch quest. Lots of monsters and traps, and plenty of ways to test the heroes as they develop their skills. Completing this quest will increase the heroes' level to 4, and they will be ready to face the last quest, Tomb of the Gilded Wraith. This is where the heroes will venture into the tombs beneath the city, to discover the source of the sinkholes that have been causing so much trouble. Which, by the way, is a really good example of how to escalate threat and connect dots within a story to create a compelling and self-contained adventure. The heroes literally stumble into a problem, that problem creates additional issues like the homeless troll, and eventually they learn the secret behind the initial problem, realise it's much more serious than they first thought for, and do something to resolve it. Very neat. This adventure will test everything the players have learned so far, and should they complete it, they will become level 5 heroes. From there, who knows what fresh tales await. It will be time to venture beyond the confines of this starter set. And while that may seem daunting, the experiences the players have shared will have made the next steps easier, hopefully paving the way for a lifetime of adventures together. And overall, I think this is an excellent set that, even at the full retail price of £44.99 in the UK, represents good value. If you are brand new to role-playing, you get a careful and considered introduction to the main concepts, and then a series of adventures that gradually scale in complexity, complete with the pre-generated characters, maps, miniatures, dice and tokens to start questing almost immediately. The solo quest is a particularly excellent idea to help onboard someone totally new and give them a taste of what it's like on both sides of the Dungeon Master's screen. If you're a role player but new to Tales of the Valiant, you get a neat rules reference which has most of the rules you would need to run a quest, plus enough adventures to kickstart the careers of some new heroes, progressing from level 1 to level 5. By the time you have worked through all of that, you should have a strong idea of the differences and similarities between Tales of the Valiant and the other role-playing games you know, and you will have a firm foundation to continue your own adventures. And if you aren't interested in Tales of the Valiant specifically, this is still a wonderful box of tools for tabletop gamers. To be honest, this is most likely the perspective I'm coming from. For me, this is a box of cool one-shot quests I can drop into D&D. More miniatures for role-playing and skirmish games, a set of versatile maps, and a stack of new ideas for drawing on when creating my own adventures. The extra dice and monster tokens are just a bonus. Tales of the Valiant from Steamforged Games and Kobold Press is available for pre-order right now and should hit retail at the end of May. You can secure your copy using the link to the Steamforged Games web store in the video description below. Why not let me know your thoughts on Tales of the Valiant in the comments section? And as always, if you like the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.